Nice to see you again. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Kids Health series with Lawrence August. Hi, Lawrence. How are you?
Well, hello there, Heidi. Episode 18, redo.
We made it back.
We made it back. And I understand that this is going to go up on Halloween. So
it is
a very spooktacular episode of Kids Health.
Super spooktacular. I'm sure we're going to touch on sugar, but I also wanted to share something. I didn't tell you this right before we taped. Do you know today, 23 years ago, I flew back from California and I don't know if I used my pager or how it worked. Did I call you? But I called my film buddies. I'm like, who wants to move to California with me? And we left a week later. And you and I and our buddy T, we left a week later. So 23 years we've been here.
It's incredible. We left, I remember it was November 3rd. And got the truck and headed west. You were in the Silver Plume.
Silver Plume. My new Saturn.
Yes, that was epic. That was epic. Yeah, thinking back, I for sure did not have a cell phone. So for sure, I know that I was one of the last people in the country to get a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone, I think, until I was like 31 years old.
Oh my gosh,
I can't remember. Yeah, just some payphones were happening. I did have a pager.
The payphones.
I remember having a pager.
Yep.
Yeah, so cool.
I had my first cell.
You know what, Heidi? Cheers to that. Here we are.
Cheers.
Happy, healthy. Cheers to a healthy 23 years, 23 and more to come. Let's go.
Woohoo! Cheers.
Yes, and let's just do it. Ready? Oh, we're gonna rock.
I know what you're gonna do.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Happy 23.
23. Okay. That
20
is
years of following our bliss. That's what I have to say.
High five.
23 years of following our bliss. I've known you a couple years before we even moved together, and you've always been with nutrition. You've always been working on physical fitness, and so you really have curated an incredible career for yourself. It's really exciting to watch. So, grand fabuloso, Mr. Lawrence August.
Hey, right back at you, Popp. You've been at it, and you're stronger than ever. So
I'm feeling pretty good. Everything is well. Yeah. So how about that sugar?
Sugar. Well, this is the time where sugar gets the spotlight, I guess. Halloween is here, and that's the time of year that everybody goes crazy with the candy or whatever. It is what it is. That all being said, I mean, I guess I got a lot of thoughts about Halloween. I mean, there's the nutrition stuff, and then I think there's cultural, and I can't help but I feel like I'm one of those guys, like back in my day, that the trick-or-treating scene is a little different, sort of evolved. Used to have kids out in mass in the neighborhoods. I don't see as much of that anymore. There's a lot of malls.
The trunk or treats. A lot of
the trunk or treats, all of this stuff. So
funny.
I mean, I guess
we have a pretty crazy hood, though. We got a crazy hood.
So give me the mom perspective, and we can talk about the kind of nutrition part of it. But
where we moved, what's interesting this particular year too, there's a lot of industry peeps, and especially they've been out of work with the strike for 6 months, so they've all gone all out. Like there's even some fields that they've taken over to do haunted garden walks, and I don't like the spooky stuff, but our neighborhood below us, they really do go all out. It's a neighborhood that's known for it, so it's fun to trick or treat. Our hood is quiet, like we're the only ones who decorated really on our street, which is so crazy to me. But I used to always host the parties every year, and this is my second year I haven't. And so we do, there's still a trick-or-treating. And then we do the switch witch. And I'm sure many folks have heard of the switch witch. And it's at the end of the night. My kids look at their haul. We agree to how many pieces they keep or how much they keep. And the rest it used to be a surprisey, like they turn it in for a toy that happens to be there the next morning or something. And now it's just like, how much do you want? Like, I'll give you $20 for that pillowcase.
Right.
Money now. The money talks.
Right.
But they're into money. They're saving, so they're into it.
Money is always good. I remember that when we were kids. I remember like getting like pennies sometimes or nickels, but that's like in my I wouldn't
Yeah.
get a candy. Or there'd be like the one house that would give out like the full size candy bars and not
Oh
the
my gosh, yeah.
that was always like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Um, we used to go to
Yeah.
like the wealthier parts of
Yeah.
town. They're giving the
Yeah.
good candy. Like drop us off, mom. Drive over to, Bartlett
So
or
it
wherever.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
grew up
and
in
their
Hannibal Park,
driveways
so
were there's so long by the time you got to the end, you're like, "It better be something good."
yeah,
Like, this is a huge
we're making the
driveway.
trek, and then sometimes you'd actually switch your costume to go back to get more. Hope that they would, like swap out a mask or something and go back to get seconds or thirds.
Yeah, that's funny.
This is kind of an example. We had an episode before where we talked about food as a reward, and to just refresh, it's like my take is like, look, things are gonna be seen as a reward. They're gonna be seen as special. They're gonna be seen as celebratory. It's hard to avoid that, and trick or treat, right? Treat. I mean, this is literally a holiday devoted to going to get, go get the sugar, right? I mean,
Get as much sugar as
that's
you can.
sort of what it is, and
Mhm.
it's kind of a classic example of like, yeah, you're just not going to be able to avoid this. And so, in talking about food as a reward, it's like, well, it's going to be, but it shouldn't be the only reward system that we offer children.
Right.
We can reward them through praise, we can reward them through money,
Yeah.
their favorite game, taking them to a movie. There's going to be rewards. It's just that when we're always going to, food as a reward, and we're putting these certain kinds of foods on a pedestal. I think Halloween's fun. I think it should be low pressure. There's no need to get all extra about it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, from my point of view, obviously, I'm gonna look at it like
I know. It's kind
go
of
to some of these. They have like
you're
a
just
party at the park down the street, and I'm seeing just the tables and stuff. I know, but I'm like, oh dear
yeah.
lord.
It's like the
But
kids line up.
what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Do
Right?
you
I mean,
know
let's
do
have
you
some
know
fun.
do you know the public schools are actually closed now the day after? The ones up here anyway, because they're like, "Oh, because everyone calls in sick the day after Halloween." They're
Wow. Is
they're
that why? Is that
closed.
why?
That's what I heard from some of the kung fu moms, but ours isn't because we're gonna celebrate Dia de los Muertes the next day. We don't celebrate, there's no costumes at school. I'm doing something in my classroom. I'm gonna pretend I'm late and my assistant's gonna walk them through the trail and I'm gonna have my little cauldron and dry ice and I'm gonna tell a story. And
That is
then
awesome.
we're gonna make soup, harvest soup, so they can cut all vegetable and quinoa because we just finished our grains block of what's been growing natural on the planet, different parts of the planet. And the treat is we're going to make a pumpkin pie filling, but it's just like natural ingredients and then little whipped coconut cream topping, and then they can crumble little
Love
ginger
it.
snaps on it. Like there's
Love
our
it.
dessert. And I'm telling families, please, everyone celebrates different, but you got enough going on tonight. This is a lunch offering. So we're going to
Yeah.
do lunch and
Love it.
just watercolors and have some fun. But I know some public schools and some other schools, it's all about parading the costume at school and
Yeah.
the treats. And we just see treats in a whole nother way, where I'm, giving them extra yarn. They're going to do some finger crocheting and like just
Right.
celebrations can be a different way.
You can
Yeah.
add a festive element using all kinds of things that have nothing to do with food, whether it's
Yeah.
crafts and colors and decorations. Dia de los Muertos. Speaking of that, I just
Mhm.
watched Coco.
Oh, isn't that cute? Yeah, I like
That is
Coco.
amazing
I like
movie.
that one.
My girlfriend said it was one of her favorites, and so we pulled it up last night
Isn't it
and
sweet?
watched it, and it was an amazing. I got this new big projector set up at my crib here so it was kind of like movie night,
Nice.
and it was a great film. Really
It's
cool
very
message behind that.
yeah.
Dia
Yeah,
de
it's
los
beautiful.
Muertos. So
Well well,
yeah,
that's what our my son, he's in 4th grade, his class is hosting that this year. Every grade's different, and they're setting up a huge altar in their classroom. They're gonna have, all the adornment, the sugar skulls and, the the paper flowers and all the decorative, but they're also gonna say verses, and class by class, we each, have 7 minutes or 15 minutes. We get to go in there, very peaceful and quiet and reverent, and we're all going to bring a token of a loved one that's passed and have a moment of silence. Last year, I went through this, and I know I go all woo woo, but I was feeling all the ancestors there. I was like sobbing and like
yeah.
trying to hide it from the kids because I didn't want it to make it about me. And then there was one girl tuned in and she just put her hand on my back and she's like, "Are you okay, Miss Heidi?" I go, "Absolutely. I feel love. I feel all them all here. This is a beautiful cry. I have they're so happy we're doing this for them." And
Yeah.
it is celebration of remembrance. And I really do
Yeah.
like that.
I mean,
So
that idea really sunk in for someone watching the movie of, it's true, if you're forgotten, I mean, what, you know, what
yeah.
carries you forward through history is people remembering you and having that legacy. And when that goes away, it's a deep concept to think
Yeah.
like the final, the final end.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody hasn't seen that movie, it's
It's
Pixar.
sweet.
They don't really
Yeah.
miss. They do pretty
They
good
did a
stuff.
good job. You might
Yeah.
like this. So for the altar, I might bring a pair of lashes to put on
Nice.
for my grandma.
Nice. So
Oh,
what else? It's been a while since we've been chatting here. So,
mhm, mhm.
um,
Yeah, if anyone caught one of my little vlogs, we did a whole taping but it wasn't actually recording. So, and with Lawrence and I trying to connect our schedules, it was really we just had to wait till the next time. So
yeah,
we missed
it's
it.
all
We
good.
missed a chunk there, but that's okay. That
It's all good.
happens. It's good that we're busy.
Yeah. What do
How's
you?
your
So
Yeah,
yeah,
how's your
yeah.
Instagram looking?
Instagram's looking good. Should I pull up a share and
Sure.
dive into that?
Yeah.
Let's.
I mean, I
Here
don't
we
know how
go.
far you want to go. We have been talking sugar. You had one about 45 situation or
Oh well, yeah. Let's just
diseases that go
explore,
with
guys.
sugar.
Okay,
There's
so
so many choices
I'm
though.
putting it out there, man. I'm putting it down every day. Um, Kids Get Healthy USA. If, follow me on Instagram. That's instagram.com/Kids Get Healthy USA. I post pretty much daily, pretty much every day now.
Mhm.
Usually some sort of relevant headline, something new, studies that I think are interesting to look at, just all fun stuff like that. So Heidi, you were speaking on, let's go through here and touch on that one. I think I know the one you're talking about. Here we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this was 45 health reasons to avoid added sugars. And so this was basically a recent study that analyzed it. Actually, again, always talking about the value of meta-analysis, where it's studies of studies. And so this looked at, 8,600 studies, right? So it's a study of studies, and they just listed out numerous negative health effects. And, the sort of usual ones we think about: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke. But you can look at other things like gout, tooth decay, asthma, depression, early death. I mean, it's about as bad as you can find. Now, this is with added sugars, and so this is really, in my opinion, the big culprit is this added sugar element. When you take sugar away from what they call the food matrix, you remove it from the fiber, you're taking out, the juice out of an apple, let's say, you're removing it from the food item, that tends to create problems, whether it's, stored visceral fat, obviously spiky blood sugar, right? You're taking away that fiber, so you're not getting that slow release of sugars. So yeah, this is just more of the same. Again, another study
Yeah.
that's just showing what we've already kind of known. But if we're talking about a number, less than 25 grams of added sugar per day is recommended. So that comes out to about 6 teaspoons. 1 teaspoon is about 4 grams of sugar. Now you can imagine there
Man.
are drinks, out there
Yeah.
with
Double that.
60, 70 in one drink. So you can imagine you're getting, 2, 3, 4 days worth of added sugar in one beverage.
Hmm.
So, it does add up. So it's kind of a good, I always like to look at it kind of like a go to a meal to meal thing or a snack to snack thing. If you're thinking of like, okay, I've got, 25 grams of added sugar to play with, just pay attention to that on your labels and see
Mhm.
something. Usually things that are, 10, 8 grams or under are suitable. When you start getting higher than that at one time, you might send yourself off on, the roller coaster. And
Mm.
there you go. So yeah, that's just more of the same.
More of the
More of
same.
the
It all
same.
leads to everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you brought up Meta, but you had a post about Meta being sued.
Oh, well, I'm talking about meta-analysis, which is separate
Oh,
from Meta,
okay.
the company.
Oh, okay.
Meta-analysis is just a term for meaning, an analysis of an analysis, right? So
Okay.
it's
That's
meta.
probably why they called the company Meta then, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all
well,
the
Meta is, yeah, it's strange, right? It's like Meta.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I thought it was very meta that I was using a Meta platform to post about a Meta lawsuit. Yeah, and that's like right here. So let's get into this lawsuit. Meta has been sued by 42 attorney generals, or I guess the way you say it is attorneys general.
Mm.
I want to say attorney generals, but that's incorrect. Attorneys general, and their allegations are that Facebook, Instagram has features that are addictive and target kids. I don't know. Seems like a reasonable
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this plays out. It's a 233-page federal lawsuit filed on Tuesday. And there's a lot of good lawyers on the Meta
People
team, so
chomping on that.
we'll
Mhm.
see how they defend themselves against this one. I don't know. We'll see what will actually happen. At the end of the day, guys, we can wait for policy. This is my thing. I'm all for policies that kind of help protect kids. I'm all for policies in the schools. I'm all for fine, all good. But at the end of the day, as we wait around for the legalities to play catch up, we've got to take it on at home. There's got to be some kind of personal responsibility on the side of the parents that are the gatekeepers. Yes, it's hard, but look, it's worth it. It's worth it for your kids,
Mhm.
because we do know that the effects of being on social media all day, what it's doing to mental health, especially, that's a huge one. I mean,
Yeah.
forget about it's not just this thing of being on their phone and being less active. Yeah, that certainly matters. But what's actually happening on a psychological level, in many ways, there's kind of dopamine depletion, what they call the slot machine effect. You're just constantly kind of like waiting for the next hit, and eventually you kind of have burnt everything out, to
Mm.
be honest. And we need that dopamine reset. We need to get out. We need to get off our devices and just be away.
Mhm.
Be away from the phone.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we will see where that plays out. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
Meta lawsuit. So
Wow. Yeah, because it can
what
go in so many
else?
directions too, though.
Yeah.
What was the weird I know. You jump in, I keep talking, but there was some crazy thing with magnets.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is really wild. Where is that one at? Yeah. So there's actually this was a report, an article I came across with injuries from everyday products, electric scooters, curling irons, and desk magnets. There's actually a separate thing that I was reading about on the magnet piece alone, which I might post
Okay.
in the near future. But I shouldn't laugh, but it's just
I
like,
know,
my
it's just a
Lord,
little
like
crazy.
research based on data from 2017 to 2019 identified nearly 600 cases in which people, this wasn't kids, this was, people ages 20, I'm sorry, it was kids, but not necessarily young kids. So it's 21 and younger, swallowed
Okay.
high-powered magnets
Oh my gosh.
or inserted them into their noses or ears. Nearly half required a procedure like surgery or an endoscopy, which is like a scope they put a scope down and take a look and see what you've swallowed.
Oh.
So yeah, small magnets, high powered magnets, this is a thing. And there's a whole separate bit of research just on this kind of like
There's
phenomenon
research
of magnets
on that.
being,
Oh my god. Sounds like
yeah,
hazing.
well, I
Sounds like
know.
some sort of hazing.
It's but
That's a little crazy.
I guess this just
Okay.
comes under the category of safety. It's
Gotcha.
all about health, and so this isn't nutrition or diet related, but it does have to do with just apparently there's just things going on out there that
Oh my
you didn't know
gosh.
about. On a grand scale, 600 cases isn't a lot, but
Okay.
you don't want to be you don't want to be running to the ER with your kid because they swallowed a high powered
Oh my
magnet. So
gosh.
check
Yeah.
your home for high powered magnets. Yeah. So what else? We can kind of go back a little bit. Was there other? You think you have a little
Well,
notes
that
of?
Penny Kittrell, that was an interesting story with the preschool, the
That's
pres
a new one that just went
newer
up.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so this was.
But that wasn't back, yeah.
I just thought, yeah, and little audio clip that was on here. I don't think you can hear the audio, but that's okay because I
Okay.
want you to go to Kids Get Healthy USA and check it out. And these are just people in history. This is a podcast I came across called Lost Women of Science. Uh, I I have no affiliation with them. I tagged them. I don't even know if they've seen the tag yet. I just did this because I wanted to do it. I wanted to shed some light on what they're doing. Is they're just uncovering people that have done some cool stuff. I don't think we hear enough about these people. Flemmy Pansy Cottrell, cool name,
Yeah.
a real trailblazer in child development. She was the first Black woman to earn her PhD in nutrition. This is back in 1936. She
Yeah.
showed the importance of good health and developed a program that kind of became the model for Head Start. And Head
Oh,
Start's there's pros and cons to it. But whenever I'm looking at, to me, when I'm looking at historical figures, I'm trying to look at it in the context of the time that these people lived in. The
right.
work that she was doing at the time that she was living in was really pretty revolutionary. Of course, Head Start came later under, LBJ and, federally funded program to try to get kids in, lower socioeconomic standing a head start. That was the idea, like, kind of get them up to speed in different areas and try to help provide them resources. I've got a lot to say about that. Again, I think I'm more of a fan of just kind of going off the grid with it. But again, in the context
Same.
of history,
Mhm.
what she was doing was pretty awesome. And, she kind of opened a lot of roads to people that, came behind her. She directed an experimental nursery at Howard University. And that was the nursery that, became the template for Head Start. But it was really her big contributions were in early on, right? The really kind of let's get at it and let's concern ourselves with the health of little ones. Let's not
Mhm.
wait until there's problems.
Start young. Get the
Start
foundation
young,
learning
early start.
of
So that's
health and
Flemmy
nutrition.
Pansy Cottrell. Check it out. And
Yeah.
the podcast, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, it's called
Yeah.
Lost Women of Science, and it is the October 26th episode.
That's what I like with education, like the Montessori Waldorf way, because with the early childhood programs, they focus on the practical skills and
Yeah,
tasks, washing dishes, cutting vegetables,
yeah,
preparing your meal, sitting with utensils, and
yeah.
like a proper place setting. It's just the fundamentals for a healthy lifestyle, I think.
And
It's
for a
not, there's no
child, we
rush of
know,
like, you have to read and spell. No, they need them to, can you become your own little, really grow into a nice little independent human?
right? And to a child, really, we kind of tend to look at these things from an adult point of view, like, oh, that's a chore, that's a
Right.
right. But
It's
a
fun to
child
them.
is like number one, usually very, very much willing and desiring to help, and they see this as the same thing as play, right? Remember
Mhm.
playhouse, that used to be a thing,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
playhouse.
Yeah.
So whether they're really washing the dishes, washing
Mhm.
play dishes, for a child, they're engaged the same. So there's
Mhm.
this distinction that we think was like, oh, that's a hard task, that's a chore, that's heavy work, and that's play. To a child, so I think people don't understand maybe that this household work is really embedded in their nature. They want to contribute, and it can be a lot of fun. You can turn cleaning up the house into a fun game. You can turn doing the dishes into a fun game, meal prepping and all that stuff. It all can be tied into something that's really amazing for families
Mhm.
and kids. And so,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
Totally. Good
What
habits.
else do we got here? The top line here. This one's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
This was about younger children as
Oh,
well
the board.
and eating when
Mhm.
they're bored. Now, so I want to kind of pick apart though a couple of things on this that so this was kind of surprising as far as the differences. So on average, the study showed that children who were feeling bored uh, ate 95 calories when they were already full. In other words, ate 95 calories compared to children in a neutral mood or condition where they ate an average of 59 extra calories. And what does that mean? That's actually pretty significant if you play that out over time.
Sure.
Here's the catch on that is that it's not just that it's boredom, okay? Because actually boredom is a good thing, like I talked about, the dopamine reset, right? When we look at it, the study exposed a concerning pattern, emotional feeding, right? So it's when parents frequently use foods to pacify their child's emotions. So again, this food is reward. And when the child is, highly emotionally sensitive, here we go. And in that state, they end up devouring 5 times more calories when the boredom strikes. And so the research emphasized that children's dietary behaviors are influenced by an intricate mix of factors, including their genetics, there's some of that, the temperament, there's some of that, and the feeding practices. Oftentimes kids resort to eating when they experience emotions like boredom, sadness. Adults often employ the food as the means of comfort. So what it's kind of saying is to sort of be aware of that pattern, because they may need a little more than just, throwing a slice of pizza in front of them. So I got this little boy here. For those of you
I
watching,
know. This little
he's eating
pizza, I
his
know.
pizza.
It's so cute.
He's doing his thing.
But he might
But
just want to be heard
maybe
or
it's
have a
just that,
hug.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe it's just a hug. Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Mhm.
And just wants to be listened to and talked to.
Yeah.
And that goes into the post that I put up today, which is I put up a little clip. John T. Broderick Jr. speaking on childhood mental health. And I'm not sure if you can hear sound if I turn this on. Do we hear sound?
I do hear it over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to your children, engage them. See the child in front of you, not the child you hope is in front of you.
Let's loop that back around again.
That's a
Listen
good
to
one.
your children, engage them. See the child in front of you, not the child you hope is in front of you.
Okay. So that's huge,
That's a
right?
good one. Yeah, that's good.
We want to have all these crazy solutions and these new novel ideas and all this research that we talk about, but in every case, if you don't start on that fundamental human level of just be there where person is at, in whether it's adult relations or adult with children, what he said is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's
big time.
Be there with the child as they are and go from there and pay attention.
Yeah.
And that's typically what they want. And then, then things like food filling voids isn't going to be an issue because the voids are being filled with emotional, comfort, love, acknowledgement, acceptance, these kind of things, encouragement.
Their needs will be met.
Yes.
So,
yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Anything on your list you want me to
Oh
find
yeah,
on
what
the
else?
grid here?
Oh my gosh, what was this insanity about kids as young as 6 with weight loss shots?
Okay, yeah.
Was that serious? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because that's such a huge controversy out here in Hollywood right now. The shots that I didn't even know about it until people started.
Yeah, so we know.
tales.
Okay, so it's kind of I gotta say I sort of called this at the beginning of the year when the American Academy of Pediatrics announced the new guidelines where they're going to begin prescribing weight loss medications to children as young as 12, 13, bariatric surgeries, and the GLP-1 agonist drugs, all this. And I said, when this becomes normalized, that opens the door to children even younger. This is following the same trajectory as we saw back in the day with prescription drugs like Ritalin, which when they were on the market, they were originally just adults, and then it was like 16 and older only. And then that kind of kept getting pushed, and we know now, I think children as young as 2 are being put on these kind of drugs. And so what you're seeing now is just that all over again. Here's the headline: weight loss drugs for first graders. Eli Lilly is testing Mounjaro shots on kids as young as 6. So this is a clinicaltrial.gov. Tirzepatide, another one of these GLP-1 shots, right? That play on the incretin hormone system. And the clinicaltrial.gov, it's up. They're recruiting currently. And this quote in this article, I just kind of read it and then just reread it. And I'm like, what? And here's the quote: "Scientists don't really know yet how the hormone mimicking medications might work in kids' developing bodies, which is why they're conducting these trials." Like, let's just, at this point, you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we don't
Jeez.
know. So, okay.
Oh
I mean,
my
they're recruiting, this is recruiting pediatric participants. This isn't, they're not doing this on mice or
Right, they're not using
whatever.
monkeys.
This is like, let's go. Let's find some,
Let's just start.
let's find some 6-year-olds.
Wow.
And I
And
just
parents
think,
willing to do it. Yeah,
and
they're
parents
finding them.
willing to do it. And just
Mhm.
on many levels, one, the unknown variables are unknown variables, right? And then
Mhm.
two is just, again, the long term, like, these aren't cheap. We know that they don't fundamentally change things to the point where you can just sort of get off of them and expect a lasting result. By their own data, they'll admit that you need to be on it, which, from a business model point of view, they love that.
Sure.
And you're talking $900, $1,000, up to $1,300 a month. I'm not sure where this is going to price out. It's a lot of money.
Jeez.
And the angle that they're using the angle of, let's get early start, right?
Yeah,
Well,
that's so
maybe we need to get an early start in other ways.
I know.
And yes, it's pretty interesting. I mean, if you look at the day before, we can kind of tie this in, is that here we go with prenatal. I want to kind of tie this into this whole idea of early, because we're really in an interesting time where now we're finding out, the overall health of the mother, the expectant mother is going to influence the baby in different areas, right?
Mhm.
And so this is very tricky, because here's a study. This had to do with exposure to endocrine disruptors. And a new study links prenatal chemical exposure to childhood obesity trajectories, right? So this study provided evidence that those endocrine disrupting chemicals may lead to basically increased BMIs, essentially being linked to childhood obesity. Now, how
And the
that's happening,
children.
right? I mean, there's sort of like a lot of different things that need to be looked at here. They're going to have to do more study on this, but clearly there's something mechanistically going on, where
Well,
the
those
children are, taking
yeah.
on this toxic load, and this is influencing how their metabolism is going to play out, or their appetite, or what have you.
Where is that endocrine disruptor coming from? Is that the parent being on like a
These are
antidepressant or something?
these are found in plastics. They're cosmetics. They're found in the food. They're found in water. They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh, okay.
Um,
I thought it was a specific chemical, but no, this
yeah,
is
no, endocrine
okay.
disruptors is a broad, and to the point of these is that they sort of hang out in body fat. And this is why women in particular tend to be more vulnerable to the exposure of these endocrine disruptors, because women are going to just carry more body fat. That's just a
Mhm.
natural woman's body, right? A healthy range for a male might be at 15 to 20%, whereas a female, 22 to 32%, right? So more body fat, meaning, and women are the ones that are generally wearing, the bulk of the cosmetics, and using these, personal products, being exposed, so that burden is just amplified in females. And so we see also not only this, what I'm talking about here with, prenatal issues, but thyroid is a big one. You
Ooh,
don't hear a
that's
lot of
rampant.
thyroid problems, and it's
Yeah.
very commonly seen in women,
Mm.
versus males. So this goes to the whole thing of, when does prevention start? My God, before the child's even born, right? And
Yeah.
and then mom's habits are going to dictate certain things as well, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
So
it's no longer just looking at alcohol and cigarettes. You're looking at all the things now.
yeah. And so let's go back. This was when we were kind of a couple weeks we missed. Anything grabbing you, Pop?
Oh yeah. Oh, you crossed that. Children independence. Is that further?
Yeah. Where's that one? Let's
I
take
didn't
a
see it
look.
on there. I just had it on my list. Children
no.
independence. Something about. I only highlighted myself, but let me see if I recognize.
Okay, yeah. Let's here it is. Yeah. So this was a Mott
was
poll
that?
report. Yeah, Mott poll reports are really cool. They've been going on for years and years, and this had to do with kind of like promoting children's independence is basically what parents are saying and versus what's actually happening. So what this is kind of highlighting is very interesting. So, 3 in 4 parents say they make it a point, to have their child do things themselves. Like, I think people intellectually understand the importance of independence, but when it comes down to actually what they are doing in practice, uh, there tends to be a little more of a helicopter parenting phenomenon going on. And then we're even seeing things like 1 in 4 parents have criticized another parent for not adequately supervising their child, right? So the kind of
Mhm.
Karen thing, finger wagging.
Yeah.
But here's a key quote that I pulled from this report. This Mott poll suggests parents may be unintentionally restricting their child's path to independence. A major factor is parental worry. So worry is the top reason parents give for their child not doing things independently. Parents may limit their child's independent activities due to highly publicized media reports, even if those outcomes are very unlikely to occur or just simply cannot be prevented. Here's where we're getting into something you probably have a lot to say about. How this is fear, right? This is the idea
Yeah.
of,
You're already thinking of a story. Mhm.
right? We're already
Mhm.
kind of buying into it, and this magnification, right? We talked about this before, magnifying the media messaging to the point where you feel like the world is a lot more dangerous than it really is.
Yeah.
Not to say that you shouldn't take smart precautions, but what this is saying is that we're kind of at a place now where it's not matching. It's a disproportionate.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
a
You have
disconnect
that big range there. The one story I'm thinking of is just the simple fear thing is we're on a road trip. We're at Mount Rushmore, and there's this really cool boulder. It's like, oh, cool. And you could see the base, children climbing it. It's a great climbing rock. And some were brave to the top. My son, he's a good climber. He's done it before. He climbs to the top. And I'm like, hey, dude, not thinking too much. I watched this man next to me, this dad, and he was like, like, look at you, like, what are you doing? Why are you letting him do this? And I clearly saw places to get down. So his son tries to go up. He's like, no, 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 get down, da, da. And it's this whole thing. And you could even see my son like start to clench up, like, oh no, like, is the rock crumbling or something? Like, what's the problem? It was
Yeah,
such a fear moment. And that little other boy, that man's son, was so like, oh, like I wanted to try. And
yeah,
his dad was so freaked out, he pulled him away from these dangerous, rebellious children climbing this rock, that there's a path leading up to it showing you, go ahead, climb this rock.
right.
He fled, and it just left this really toxic, crazy energy. I also want to just share this quick thing about free range kids. There's a range of
Please
kids, the
do, please do.
super, super helicopter kid to the free range wild and free, which is really big and hot out here. There does come a line where it needs to be balanced, because I I work with some kids that are super free range, but there's also no manners and no
Yeah,
thing. There needs to be some boundaries still.
sure.
And these free wild range kids, you can't just go to a public venue and they can just do whatever the hell they want. There's got to
Right.
be some rules in play. And I deal with that sometimes.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I see you trying to go that hippie route, but you got to at least put a
There's
couple boundaries.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for what I always say is stay on the border of chaos and order. And there's a lot of interesting things to tease out there because you're exactly right. There's the reason that we have, decorum in society is, in creating order is that it's simply like what you said. If there is none of that, it turns into total chaos. So,
Mhm.
establishing there, we talk about it with Rainbow Chefs, right? Manners and etiquette. We have a whole section of that in our
Mhm.
program, and kind of
So
trying to
cool.
bring back some of that because we do need, decorum. I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Yeah.
But to the point of as far as like allowing your child to explore, it's really important. That's actually where people are going to find the the feeling of being the most alive. I mean, if you can think back through your life, I mean, those challenging moments are where we actually find out about themselves and ourselves. And so,
Mhm.
there are and this is what a lot of, toys early on are designed to do, and climbing things and things that you can kind of let them explore. You want to introduce that at a young age and let them test boundaries. You can do this safely. It's not like you
Yeah.
have to do anything on an extreme level, but allow them to explore is
Yes.
really, really important. If you shut them down from anything, and you can have this kind of bubble kid situation, and then when they're turned loose into the actual world, they're just destroyed by
They're
everything.
destroyed. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
set
yes.
them up
And
for a high amount of
yeah.
vulnerability.
And everything's energy. I know my biggest nail biting moments was making sure they didn't pick up on my being stressed out. I have to trust them a little bit too,
Yeah.
and make sure I'm calm when they're trying something new. Otherwise, they're going to be like, never mind, I don't want to do it. My mom's kind of getting crazy. It's like trusting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting, an interesting little survey there of sort
Yeah.
of like what parents, I mean, there's kind of clearly a desire that parents have that, yeah, they want their children to be independent, but how do we actually put that into practice? And,
Right.
and what are we teaching our children in terms of listening to authority versus question, these kind of things also
Yeah.
go into that, because that has to do also independence is not just physical risk taking or putting yourself in
Right.
physical, but it's also that mental, the ability to have critical thinking at your disposal is another
Mhm.
part of that too. And
And
so that's
yeah.
another way, if you're a parent and you want to encourage independence, it's independent thinking and questions. And are we doing
Right.
enough of that in our schools?
I know, that's a big one, and even with my little hippy dippy, like, Steiner Waldorf kids, the joke is you go to a public place and you can pick out the homeschool Steiner kids because 'cause they're either just playing with rocks and dirt and they're happy, or they're climbing a tree. But,
Yeah.
like, we went to a field trip recently, we're on someone else's property, like, it does not say you can climb a tree, it's behind a fence, and they help them some help themselves, and you're like, "Wait a second, know the boundary, or this is someone else's you have to know, are we allowed to climb in this tree? Is this okay to do right now? Or are we about to walk and explore over here?
Right.
There there's this whole like the ants just run and go do stuff. It's like, okay, great. I see that your kid can do that, but it's not offered right now. You got to follow the rules too.
Right, because rules put in in place, also the ability then to measure certain things and manage, and that, so what gets measured gets managed, and that goes into the idea of structured exercise, and the ability to track progress in life and have metrics that you can see improve over time. And without that, that's a form of order. Without that, you're kind of running amok. You're real loosey goosey, and it helps people form a plan for their life, to be able to think long term and go, okay, I'm working toward a goal. I know that here's where I'm starting. I can do 5 push-ups and 10 jumping jacks, and then in 10 weeks I did 50 push-ups and 100 jumping jacks. Right? There's some sort of metric to it, and that has to do with structure as well. And that's the big difference between play. Research just let them run around. Sure, kids need play, but structure is nice. Structure really does help, and in a lot of ways, it's very calming
Yeah.
for to have a sense of structure and a pattern and a template to go by.
Mhm. Especially the
Because
older they get.
yeah, I mean,
That yeah.
have a plan, right? I mean, we know
Yeah,
one
yeah.
way to reduce anxiety, if somebody's really going through it, and you just say, "Hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know." That's very actually not helpful, even though that sounds good. Because what
Yeah.
you're doing is you're putting the burden on the person dealing with the anxiety and trauma to
Right. They're
come
never
up with
gonna ask.
something, and they're not going to. So better to take that burden off their plate and say, "Hey, maybe I could come by on Wednesday and bring you some food." Come up with something specific as an offering. Hey, maybe I can come by and watch the kids for you for an afternoon, and you can go to a movie. Give them an idea. And that's no different than children, because children are going to be prone to anxiety because of the unknown variables in their life. They don't really
Yeah.
know. So as the adult, if you're providing the plan and the structure, you're giving them something, and you're kind of allowing them to explore within that plan and structure, and then they can have freedom within that zone.
Yeah,
So that
almost like freedom
combination,
of a choice.
yes,
Like,
yes.
not, "What do you want for lunch?" It's more like, "Do you want this or you want this?" Or
Correct. You've come forward with ideas. I've got
Mhm,
3, 4, 5 ideas here. Let's pick. What would you like? And now
mhm.
you've done your part of providing and then giving them that space to choose. It's a beautiful dynamic. It's not done often enough.
It's not done often enough,
It
he's
really
right.
isn't. So
Yeah.
what else we got here?
Cool.
We're going back in the
Let's
grid.
pick
Yeah.
an I know.
One here.
Go back a
I
little,
think
I
we were,
guess.
yeah, I think we were over in here when we were, maybe this
The
one?
tape the taping that never
Yeah,
taped.
yeah, yeah. So I think we were in here. Any of
Yeah,
these
I think
grabbing you?
so. Oh, heck yeah. But, I can't read the letters because of my eyes.
Okay, let's pull one up.
So now
Let's
it's
pull
like,
one up.
oh, yeah, that one,
This
that one.
this is a pretty
Mhm.
cool thing I came across. This is on
That was crazy.
C-section.
Mhm.
Yeah. So uh, William Kenkel, he is a researcher that has just recently got some cash, $1.5 million grant to to study. He's going to explore the connection between cesarean section and childhood obesity. Um, Here's the quote, right? There's this fascinating correlation in the human literature that birth via C-section is associated with a 30 to 50% increase in childhood obesity. Um, this seems to be, here's the kicker, this seems to be independent of mom's weight, breastfeeding, and even antibiotics. And so they've looked at some different things in this arena, but what he's actually looking at is a hormonal aspect and what's going on here, hormones, metabolism, C-section. So I'm going to be following this closely as this research plays out. But obviously there are times that this is going to be, just a necessary thing. Far too often, I think these are like, you're planning it. Like what you were saying before is like,
Oh, yeah.
you get the mani-pedi, and then
I
get my
know.
C-section, and then
Yeah. Get all in
well,
line with that.
what we do know that the child's immune system will be affected when C-section versus vaginal birth canal
Yeah.
delivery has to do with the mom's innate immune system being passed on to the child. And so when a child is born by a C-section, there's a completely different sort of exposure to whatever's going on in the room, different kind of microbial environment. And that plays out in time with their immune system. And we do know that children that were born by a C-section are prone to having more issues with allergies and asthma and these kind of things. And now
Mm.
he's actually going to be looking at the correlation with childhood obesity. So
Wow.
that's kind of an
There you
interesting
go.
one, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very very much so.
Let's
Woo.
let's 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 take it home with this one because this one needs to be brought up. Okay.
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that up again.
Yes, this
Again,
one
kids
needs to
get
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yep. Go for it, Heidi.
Oh, no, I was just gonna share again, check these headlines out at his Instagram, Kids Get
Yeah,
Healthy
Kids
USA.
Get Healthy
Okay, go ahead.
USA. This one posted on October 13th. Life expectancy cut down by diabetes. And so type 2 diabetes diagnosis at age 30 can reduce life expectancy by up to 14 years, right? Okay, so the study, life expectancy associated with different ages at diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. This was done in high-income countries, 23 million person years of observation. So a lot of data. And every decade of earlier diagnosis of diabetes was associated with about 3 to 4 years of lower life expectancy, highlighting the need to develop and implement interventions that prevent or delay the onset of diabetes and to intensify the treatment of risk factors among young adults. So this was talking about age 30. People in their age 50, they lose 6 years. In their age 70, if they're diagnosed, they lose 2 years. But I also have to know that in the years that this isn't shaving off, right? Diabetes isn't shaving off. Those aren't easy because you're dealing with kidney disease, vision loss, dementia, dialysis, amputation, cardiovascular disease, frequent falls from neuropathy. List goes on, right? Now imagine diagnosed at under the age of 20. Like we don't like, okay, if
Oh, boy.
diagnosed at the age of 30 is taking off 14 years, we could extrapolate that. What about age 20? What about age 12? We never saw age 12 with diagnosis of type 2. It was called adult onset.
Mhm.
And they don't use that
Oh,
term anymore because now
yeah.
we're seeing children, you know, that
Yeah.
young. So this, man, I mean, if this is not the case for early prevention, and we know if we can handle the obesity component, then we're way ahead of the diabetes component when it comes to type 2. Again, type 2. Type 1 is a different animal. Type 1 is when the pancreas simply cannot make insulin. You can be insulin dependent. Not much, or not too much you can do in that situation. However, type 2, very much preventable. Very much.
Okay.
We aren't to believe, like, let me just kind of, as an example here, let me kind of go back and pull up. Here we go. I just want to kind of touch on this real quick for those of you can see this graphic. This was a state of childhood obesity report. This is ages 10 to 17. Oh, you hear that music in the background? I'm not sure if you hear that. That's bleeding in. Somebody is driving by. Yeah. So if we're looking here, the states with the highest obesity rates, right on the left, we got West Virginia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina. Do you see a pattern?
Yeah, the South.
We got a regional pattern.
Yep.
And if we go to the lowest, we got Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, Rhode Island, and Washington State. Okay.
Active and
rural
outdoors.
Communities, active and outdoors. Now, what some of these mouthpieces out there would have you to believe is that there's something fundamentally different about these two groups genetically. And I'm asking you, Heidi, what's going on genetically in West Virginia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi that wouldn't be going on in Montana, Colorado, and Wyoming? I mean, these are significantly different rates. West Virginia, 26% obesity rates. Yeah. Montana, 10%. That's 2.5 times difference.
Yeah.
The point being is that, I mean, we've got this narrative out there that's really trying to push hard on this genetic thing.
I know.
But common sense, guys. I mean, really? Is that really what's going on? So
the only thing genetic maybe it's passing down family traditions and recipes and
traditions,
lifestyle choices.
They say, diabetes doesn't run in your family. Nobody runs in your family, or whatever that is. Zing.
My goodness.
So yeah, I think that was kind of a fun.
It's a little mishmash of a lot of things, wasn't it?
Walk through the grid. Yeah, it just kind of shows you guys like the stuff I cover. I'm just covering things daily that are catching my eye, catching my interest, but everything ties together. Everything has to do with the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Connect with your child. It's connection before correction. Be there with the child as they are. Meet them where they're at. Lead by example. And be aware that, everything is everything. It all matters. The energy of the situation matters, the pressure of the environment, keeping the atmosphere light, judgment-free zone. It can be a tough line to walk, but I'm every day I'm just amazed at how the pieces of the puzzle continue to come together, and it all just comes down to these basic things, and everybody's waiting on the magic bullet.
It's all empowerment. We have the power in our own hands to make these good choices and baby steps, patience, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. How are you going to expect your child to make any choices really later on? Let's forget healthy choices, but just choices, right? I mean, there is a learned helplessness out there where children are going on into their adult years and riddled with indecision. So if we're expecting our children to make healthy choices, first we have to just empower them to make choices.
Yeah.
And expose them to healthy options and associate healthy behaviors with good times.
Yeah.
Right? Associate, healthy living with fun times.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's what's going to matter.
Like the celebrations this week at the Learning Center. It's not focused around a character and major corporations candy treat. It's focused on a little bit of spooky, a lot of cozy root vegetable, like what's harvested at that time, and foods, and the nights are getting longer and the days are getting shorter and things are getting cozier, and there's a way to navigate even this fun holiday coming up.
Being in line with the season, it's the harvest, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
It's a
you'd be
special
so
time of
proud of
year.
me because you write music and things too. But right before we were taping, gosh, maybe 10 minutes. Look I spewed out 3 pages of. I just downloaded and channeled this little improv story because when I do this story for my story walk, I'm like,
Oh, wow, that's so
I want to
cool.
incorporate the old Native Americans and then the harvest and the things we're studying. And I just put it all in my head and I just started writing it. And I'm like, and it came out so clear. And I'm like, that's exciting. That's going to
I
be
love
the
it.
moment they can take away from it. Not what treat did we get for Halloween? It was
Right,
like, what story did you hear? Like,
right,
did it give you
right.
goosebumps?
Yeah, no,
You know,
the
it's
tradition of
exciting.
storytelling, and I love that you
Mhm.
did that.
I know it's fun. I was kind of like, because I'm like, what can I do? And I want to incorporate with the land. Like, I want it to be more folklore and like telling the tale that they can relate to. What have we been studying? Which is the foods that come seasonally.
Yeah,
going through the seasons, and
yeah.
um,
You've
there's
always
yeah.
been good with putting pen to paper. As long as I've known you, you've been, a journaler, and you
I do
write
have to
out,
do it
and
more though. Yeah, I've
you
been
know,
I've been
you're
getting pushed that direction
you
more and
have
more.
that thing of being able to just kind of stream of consciousness.
The stream of
It's
consciousness
yeah.
comes out. I'm getting, but
Anything else you want to share?
writing is very healthy for children, getting their stream of consciousness out. Same with
Yeah,
movement.
no, absolutely, absolutely. There was a practice that I did years ago that I would just highly recommend for everybody to look at. It's a classic. It came from a book called the artist, maybe called The Artist Within. I want to say the practice is called morning pages.
Mhm.
And morning pages is this idea that you simply wake up in the morning, you keep your notepad. I had a yellow tablet, and you just start to write whatever comes. You don't judge it, you just write. Whatever's coming out, roll with it. 3 pages, and you don't reread it. You
Oh,
just let it out, and then you move on with your day. And that's something I'd actually like to get back to. And I'll tell you, I did that
beautiful.
for several months, and some really fascinating things came from it. I'll just say that. There was a lot of
Awesome.
manifestation, a lot of very spooky things that I actually had to go back through and look. You're not supposed to reread, but it was pretty
Ever?
wild.
Ever you
Yeah, I mean, the
reread?
idea the
Okay.
idea is just this kind of mental dump, right?
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
what you're trying to do, there's a few things that this aims to do. One is to remove the internal critic, which I actually thought I'm like, I'm not gonna, but what's very fascinating is when you're going through this exercise, you do find yourself watching yourself and going, oh, is this, this idea of, is this good, or what should, but once you kind of break out of that, some people are better than others, I think, at doing that. But when I really broke free from that, and I would find myself, sometimes it would come out like as a poem. Sometimes it would just come out as just diatribe on something, some sort of rant, some different emotions. Sometimes it rise to the surface. Sometimes it was anger. Sometimes it was gratitude. But it was just allowing to whatever comes out comes out.
That's
And
beautiful. That's
it
beautiful.
really is I'll tell you. And there was a screenwriting uh, podcast back then I was listening to. It was actually a guy named John August, and he was talking about writers that he knew that did that. And he said that the ones that did that without exception went on to have working careers, and it was the people that just chose to not do that. And I thought that was very interesting. While we're on that subject, I don't know if he's going to hear this podcast ever, but our boy Rocco.
I was just thinking of him. I've been
Okay,
thinking about him nonstop.
Inspector
I
Sun
know. I was
opens
just thinking
this
about him.
weekend, this Halloween weekend, as we're taping this. Okay, but it's over the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, Can you believe this, right? A
It's
theatrical
beautiful.
release, and I'm making plans. I couldn't see it this weekend. I'm making plans next weekend to see it, but the film opened in Spain, and Rocco, to kind of pull this talk full circle here, uh, was part of kind of our little crew in Chicago that
Yeah.
moved out here in that spectacular, 2000 year. He was kind of out here, I think, in the spring of that year.
Mhm.
And another one of my roommates, I've got, I've got some.
He's
After I
the
lived with
best.
Heidi, Rocco and I became roommates. And so
Aw.
Rocco Pacillo We love you and congratulations.
Congrats, Rocco. It's beautiful.
Just
Keep
amazing.
following your bliss, people. Do what you
Exactly.
love.
And he won. This was, I can share this with you because it is public record, but this was a script that he won the Samuel Goldwyn Award for 10 years ago in the master's program at UCLA. He won this award, and 10 years later now it's on the big screen.
Theatrical release.
Yeah.
Freaking
so
cool.
Don't give up, guys.
Never give up.
No.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence. And Rocco, I hope you see this. We're going to send this to you. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to close out with the Kids Get Healthy
Sit through
trailer.
all the nutrition stuff and all the.
Yeah. Gotta throw it. Well, it is part of, I mean, it's part of healthy living. He followed his bliss.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Rocco is disciplined. Let's just, quick story.
Okay.
I remember he came to me, he wanted some nutrition guidance. He's like, oh, I want to get in shape, this and that, whatever it was. And I laid out a plan for him, and that guy followed it to the letter and was really like proof of like, do the work. And his discipline has paid off. He's one of the most disciplined people I've ever known. He's an amazing person and
father.
A dad.
Beautiful girls.
Just a wonderful,
lucky kids.
Wonderful guy. Yeah. Rocco is kind of knew that from the beginning. You know,
he's a shining star.
I remember like he showed up on the set in the movie we were working on and was like, we need a light meter. He's like, I got one in my trunk.
Everything.
And he was like, oh, we need a plane ticket prop. I think I got a plane ticket in the trunk. And it was like, we're just going to call this Rocco's trunk. I think Jesse was like, let's just call this Rocco's Trunk Productions.
Yeah. Jesse too. Another
shout out to Jesse, another amazing soul. Beautiful man, beautiful person. We're lucky in life to have these kind of friends.
Totally.
Yeah, and they don't stop. Don't
stop. Make that move. Leap. Take this jump. The net will appear.
Yes. Okay,
all right,
little
Kids
steps,
Get Healthy
big health.
Trailer.
Little steps, big health. Kids Get Healthy USA Instagram.
Whoop. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Cheers. Thanks,
Cheers.
Lawrence.
Happy Halloween.
Bye. Happy Halloween.